Hey there. Good morning. It is Wednesday, February 12th. Is that right? 12th? Yes. And my name is Crystal Witten. I'm going to be doing a sign with you today. I'm excited about sharing with you this process. So come on in and say hello. Tell me where you are watching from. I'm doing this a little bit different today. Normally, I've been doing a stream to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And today, I really wanted to try out the vertical format because I feel like it's so much easier to be able to see the comments and interact with it in this format. So if you're coming on, say hello. And we're gonna get started today. I have already prepped this sign. I mentioned last week that I'm going to be doing a sign for a really special person in my life, and that I would show you what it looked like when it was done. And sweet lady on the live said, "Oh, please do it with us live." And I said, "Okay, I think I could do that." So I went ahead and prepped it a little bit though, because I just think it might take a little bit longer. So we are doing this door hanger, and it's quite large. You can see how big it is. It doesn't even fit completely in the screen, but I painted it this turquoise-ish, tealish colors because this sign is for my grandmother, and she is a very special person in my life. I actually named my daughter after her. And good morning, Susan. So she just got moved to an assisted living facility. It's been a big change for her and for our family. And so I wanted to make something special for her room, for her door. And so I was trying to think what she would like, and she's got a bunch of this color in her house. And so I thought, well, that's my starting point for sure. So I went ahead and put this on last night so we wouldn't have to sit and watch the paint dry. It was this color to start off with. I got it at Hobby Lobby. It says it was $14, but y'all know Hobby Lobby. That's not what I paid for it. I'm pretty sure it was 40 or 50% off. So it's already got the little twine on the back there, and it's stapled on. So I don't even have to worry about taking the string off and then putting it back on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it down so that it doesn't pop out and get paint on it. So come on in, say hello, and if you're watching the replay, you can also say hello. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm trying out this different vertical format, and it feels kind of different. Normally I'm used to having the wider screen and more room. So I want your feedback. I want you to tell me if you like this setup better or not, especially the way I do it, because, you know, typically I like to get y'all zoomed in on my hands so you can see exactly what I'm doing with the lettering and all of that. But I felt like for something like this with the tracer, it's maybe not as important to see close up. Probably because it's trying to do the phone call. Okay, hello Carissa, welcome. So what I did was I have a template here from the Scripted Faith Collective, and I've gone ahead and made it large size for this big round. This is an 18-inch round. So this is a template that you get. Normally it would get printed off on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper like this. This is what we did last week. So normally you would get it and you'd print it off on this size. I had to make it large so that it would fill up more of the sign. So if you've never done that before, I just filmed a training on how to do that. It's not hard. And I put that inside the collective. So whenever you join and you get in there, there's some materials for you to start with. And one of them is this bonus training, so you can see how to resize the designs either larger or smaller for whatever project that it is that you're going to be doing. So I went ahead, this took 4 pieces of paper, and I don't know, this is not anything new. You've probably seen this before, but I trimmed them down, I taped them together so that we have the full thing right here. And I mentioned at the beginning of this that I'm doing this sign for my grandmother. She is very special to me, and as grandmothers are, but she loves the hymns and Amazing Grace especially. And so this is going to be hopefully hung on her door at her new facility, new living facility that she's just moved into the last week. So here, I'm trying to just measure this. You know what I want to do first is I'm going to cut these flowers off, because I'm actually going to freehand the flowers and do them some different styles. So I'm going to just trim it out. That way I'll be able to see a little bit better if it's centered too. So I'm going to trim up the sides, and then we won't have as much paper in our way to work with. Can y'all hear me okay? Let me know if the sound is okay from my phone instead of the microphone that I'm usually using. All right, so there's our flowers, and I'm just gonna throw those away for now. And then let's just cut out around this so we see what we're doing a little bit better. Right. There we go. That's so much easier to deal with. All right, and I can tell too if it is centered. I'm gonna move some stuff around here. This little stand is in my way. It's taking up too much room. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna make sure that my hanger thing at the back is straight up and down. And then we're just gonna eyeball it. If you're not comfortable, you could grab your ruler or whatever, but I think that that's probably pretty good. Make sure it's hanging straight though. Okay. So I'm leaving room down here to draw in some flowers. So I've got my painter's tape. I'm going to tape this down with the graphite paper. So here's my graphite paper. I taped it together. I've got 2 sheets. And of course, shiny side down. Hold on, let me get this. It doesn't want to peel easily. So what do y'all have going on today on this Wednesday? Hey, Roxy, how are you? I upsized it to 185%. That was definitely a little trial and error, but that seemed to be the best size. All right, so I'm gonna slide that under there. I'm trying to hold this in place because I don't want it to shift around. I like where it is. So I want to get that up under there. Okay. So make sure it looks like it's in the middle. You want to take an extra second to do that because it's so important, right? Okay, so let me do one down here too. Okay, I've got just the back of a paintbrush. I thought about buying one of those little tracer things. I still might, but I was like, why spend the money? I'm just gonna do my paintbrush. Hey Deb, how are you doing? So, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna go in here and we're gonna start tracing our design. Okay. Thank you. I hope that it's going to be pretty. I've got something in mind that I really want to do to make it special. So the only thing I don't like, see how little that is? I feel like I have to get almost like cramped fingers to trace that, but I'm gonna go all the way around the letters because you can see that this is, since it's so large, it's not gonna be like your normal thin upstrokes and then the thicker downstrokes. Even the thinner upstrokes are too thick for, you know, the paintbrush or the paint pen or whatnot. And I want to just make sure that I get it, I don't know, more exact. So, going over these. I'm trying to press down hard enough, but not too hard that it indents the wood. That's probably one of the hardest things for me. I'm very heavy-handed. It's a funny story, I never even knew that that was a thing until I was at the stationery show one year in New York City, and I met a guy who was selling the Sakura Micron pens. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those fine line pens. And I told him, I said, I love your pens and I like the real fine 00 tips, but they bend. They bend for me. And he said, well, that's because you're heavy-handed. And I said, what is that? And he said, a lot of people in your generation are. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He said, it's just where you press down really hard. You didn't learn to write properly. And I was shocked by that. I was like, okay, I've never heard of that before. But he's not wrong. I believe that my mom was also pretty heavy-handed based on how she wrote. And you know, your hand cramps up a little bit more. Are you heavy-handed? Have you, hey Marisa, welcome, good morning. Would you feel that you are heavy-handed, or do you have a nice light hand whenever you're writing? I'm not talking about lettering, I'm just talking about normal writing. Do you press down really hard, or, you know, is it more of a light hand? So I learned something that day, and I do try to be aware of that with certain pens, like especially those fine line micron pens that would bend because they're so thin. I try really hard to make sure that I don't press too hard with those. So, okay, you can kind of see the indentions whenever you're doing this in person and you're eyeballing it. You can see that, you know, where you've gone over it and maybe where you've missed. So this is probably the most tedious part of the whole thing because it's just tracing, but when you have a traceable, it makes it so much easier than trying to freehand everything. And I've always been a freehand. I've always been, you know, like, let me just see what I can do, kind of a fly by the seat of my pants. And I will say that I've made so many mistakes that way. It has ruined a lot of projects that I wasn't happy about, and I had to scrap them or paint over and start over. So the traceables like this, these templates, y'all tell me if you think that that is the way to go too. Especially because you can resize them and, you know, modify them a little bit if you need to make it more, I guess, applicable to your project. Like the way that I cut those flowers off and threw them on the ground. So Marisa said that it is very soothing. Okay, I agree. This would be a great thing to do. So I'm one of those people, I like to keep my hands busy, and I'll turn on a podcast or a show or a movie that I've seen before, something that I don't have to watch closely. And I like to just have noise on in the background, something to listen to, and trace. Worship music, So I agree with you. It is soothing. I just mean on the live, it's kind of tedious for you to sit and watch. But no, when you're doing it in person yourself, it's a completely different experience. So let me see. I think I got that first part of the G right. And listen, my paintbrush here is just wobbling all over the place. So I know these lines are gonna be super wobbly. Hopefully we can just cover all that up with the paint pen. Susan, you're heavy-handed too. I know, and you know, once you learn to write, it's very hard to undo that. It's very hard to learn a new way of holding your pen or your pencil. That's another thing that I didn't really learn to hold my pencil right. And I see other people hold it the way that I do. So I know I'm not the only one, but my kids, they went to a preschool that taught them really well how to write and how to hold their crayons. And they have got the best handhold. Like their hand looks so perfect when they write. So they did not get that from me though. All right. Hey, Nicole. Good morning to you. Are you ready for our mastermind call? We have our mastermind call here in just a short bit. So Nicole and I are in a mastermind together, and it has been wonderful. We met each other at the beginning of the year, and it's crazy how quickly you can feel like a friendship to somebody, you know? And this group of ladies are just amazing. I feel like we all connected really quickly. So what do y'all have going on your Wednesday? Or do y'all go to church on Wednesday night? Do you have something else going on that you do? My kids, they go to a co-op on Wednesday. So this is why I've been doing my lives on Wednesday mornings, because I'm home alone and it's great. And so then whenever I go pick them up from their co-op, we hang out for a little bit, and then we go to church and we have dinner up at the church before the service starts. So let's see. Roxy, I'm trying to see it, the comments. Okay, you said that you're free hand lettering now. I know you've been learning and I know you've been practicing. So there's there's pluses and minuses to both, right? I don't like how my face is just half on the screen when I'm talking to you. There's pros and cons to both, right? Which is why I feel like it's so awesome to learn how to do hand lettering, because there's some amazing things you can do with that. But then also, whenever you want to do this kind of project, it's really nice to have a template, especially if layout is something that you struggle with. And in my experience of teaching, layout is one of the hardest things to teach people. Sometimes it comes naturally, sometimes it doesn't. And there's tips and tricks and things that you can do, but yeah, sometimes it's just nice to take a design that's already done and be creative with it. So, oh, okay, hold on. Watercolor painting class with the Vintage Pebble. Is she doing that online? Because I know that she does online classes, and then church. That's so cool. That's a good day. All right, I've got everything. Make sure that I got all the spots. I missed a couple spots. I don't know if y'all can, it's so light. Oh, it's white. It is very close. Everything is enough there that I can use my imagination for the few spots that are not. Let me show you kind of close up if you can see how faint and light that is. See a little bit of that Z. Whoops, where is it? Right there is missing. But I think I've got enough that I can now trace over that. So here's my plan. I'm gonna do this in black, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of a white texture to it to hopefully make it pop a little bit more. So I'm gonna start with the black paint pen, and we'll see if we get to the flowers today. I don't know, it's 10:20. I'm gonna have to freehand those flowers, and I'll be super honest, I haven't hand-drawn flowers other than on my iPad in a while. And so I'm hoping that we can do the freehanding together. Hold on, stop, Crystal, think about what you're doing. Okay, I'm gonna turn it. I'm gonna start, I always have to think about this. I'm gonna go right to left, but it's upside down, so you'll see it in order. That way I don't drag my hand through it. So, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh, hold on, let me think. Can y'all remember what I was saying? Oh, about the flowers. Freehanding the flowers. So I'm going to, can y'all see? Okay. This is a Posca paint pen. I went and I picked up some yesterday because I could not find any paint pens in my stash. I went to Michael's after I got my hair done yesterday. But with the flowers, if we don't get to finish, like I'm gonna try to at least freehand pencil in the flowers or maybe even outline them. Well, I think the outline will be the last step. So I will see how far I can get, and then I could create a reel or something and show you the rest of the steps to finish it. So I'm just taking care to make sure that I'm covering up the white because I didn't do the black carbon paper. I was just a little bit afraid that, I don't know, my carbon paper is cheap and it smears pretty bad, and I just didn't want to have black smudges everywhere. So that's why I did the white instead. But it's obviously more noticeable if I don't cover it up. So I'm just gonna make sure that my lines are all covered. And I don't know if it shows on your end, but those lines are not perfectly straight. So sometimes you watch other people and you feel like all their stuff looks so smooth, but in reality, when you're looking at it with your eyeballs, it is not perfect, not that perfect in any way. So let me move this. I always say, and especially in my hand lettering class, I have a whole video on your mindset and getting over the perfect mentality of feeling like I have to, you know, it has to look a certain way. That person's looks so perfect when I see it online. That is not reality, because it always looks more smooth, and you can add filters and all kinds of things on a reel or on a story, or you can edit out the parts that, you know, don't look good. So be careful comparing your stuff to other people's stuff, because reality is, in person, it does look a little bit different. So, all right. Go back this way. I'm always fighting the temptation to try to write normally left to right, but then thinking about my hand going right into it. So, and I'm not very good at letting my hand hover. Some people that can do drawings on walls, like, you know, if it's up and down on on a wall or a chalkboard or a mirror, especially a mirror, because you smudge a mirror so easily. But they are really good about having that steady hand and not having to brace on anything. But I really need to like brace my hand to have it more secure and not as shaky. So I'm at more risk to drag my hand through stuff because of that, through the wet paint. But do y'all have any plans for Valentine's Day? I can see I got my my little heart earrings on today and my pink for Valentine's Day at church tonight. But we don't really have any like major plans for Friday. Yes, Marisa, remember that up close always looks different. But exactly, whenever you set it away up on a shelf a little bit further from the eye, it is not as noticeable. And honestly, you're gonna notice the imperfections more because you created it. You know, let me tell you something. Sometimes I'll look at stuff at Target or Walmart or even like Hobby Lobby. I mean, a lot of different places that sell art, hand lettered art. And how do I say this nicely? It's not the greatest. Y'all know what I mean? Like once you know how to hand letter, you kind of know what to look for. And sometimes they're selling a sign that's like a scribble scrabble, but it's cute. It's super cute, and I'll buy it even though I'm like, it's not the best hand lettering, but it's cute. And so it's like people don't even care. It's like stuff being sold at Hobby Lobby is you know, scribble sometimes. So yeah, we just got to be a little bit easier on ourselves. I know y'all can't see what I'm tracing. I'm trying to make sure that I don't get so caught up talking that I mess up. But yes, with Valentine's Day, my kids, you know, as kids are, it's like they want it to be a special day. And I do. I love Valentine decorations and all of that, but I'm kind of on spending a lot of money on stuff. But you know, it's kind of fun to maybe make a special dessert or something and try to do something special. I was thinking that we might do a movie night and get takeout or something like that. Okay, I've got to look at this Z because I didn't get that part traced. So it's going to come down to about here. And you can look at your template too, obviously. Even after, if you've missed something, you can look at it as a guide. Okay. Now you can kind of see what I'm filling in. Let me see. Okay, Roxy, let me see your question. Will you be adding more hand lettering with banners and shapes in the Scripted Faith Collective like you do with Bible journaling in the collective? Yes, I will. I'm kind of finding my footing with that and trying to think, what would people want most of? So any kind of comments or feedback that you can give me or requests, it helps me to know what you're looking for. So yes, if you're looking for, so you said adding more hand lettering. Everything in the collective is hand lettered. So is there a specific type that you're looking for, like mostly calligraphy or mostly block lettering? You know, is there something specific that you like that you would want to see more of? And then yes, like the banners and shapes. So often the phrase dictates to me like what it looks like. And so yeah, for sure. I would love, banners are one of my favorite thing anyway. So I could definitely do that. I've already started working on the designs for March, so I'm excited about that first official drop and growing this thing. I'm excited about this year. I already have a lot of stuff planned out for future months. So in case you are watching this and you're not sure what I'm talking about, the Scripted Faith Collective is a brand new digital library of hand-lettered designs, templates, and it's scripture and fun sayings, holiday-related stuff, hymns, definitely leaning into the faith-based aspect of it, but there's also stuff in there like Hello Spring and an Irish blessing. So anyway, we just started. We launched it a couple weeks ago, and every month I'll be adding 7 new designs, but all the old designs will still be in there, and they'll go into categories so that you can easily find something to create with. And you can use it, there's a bunch of different file types. So whether you're doing a template like this that you're tracing onto a sign, or you want a cut file for your vinyls, your Cricut machine or your Silhouette machine. There's all kinds of, you know, everything that you need there for different file types is in there with it. So it's very hard to talk and do this at the same time. Very hard to talk and concentrate. I'm excited though about the collective because it's a totally different avenue of business for me. And I read in my prayer journal yesterday. I went back in my prayer journal and was reading from 2020, and at that time was when I was considering homeschooling my kids and just feeling this desire for a change. And I said something about like, Lord, help me figure out what to do besides products, because I've always had a physical product based business with the greeting cards and the art prints and the stickers, and I will always love that stuff. But I felt this desire to do something different, and here it's 5 years later. So I'm a slow mover, but I'm excited to offer this because I know that it can help people and it can bring a lot of joy and creativity for people to use these designs and in their own ways. And so even just with the launch, it was so fun to see what people did with the designs. Different from anything I would have thought of, you know? So, okay, we got amazing. How does that look? It's okay. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but it's on there. And so then let's do the grace. Let's see. I'm gonna see, this side is dry mostly. I'm gonna start on this side though, so that this part is, I'm not hovering over that. When I say it needs to be cleaned up, it just looks a little bit raw to me, the edges. So I have a thinner acrylic marker that's more fine, and I think I might just go along the edges once it's dry to clean them up so that they don't look shabby. What was that? Was that? Oh, I thought I saw something on the screen. No plans. Being single isn't good for Valentine's Day. Listen, Marisa, you know what? You need to get some girls together and do a Galentine's Day. I love that whole thing of get your girlfriends together and do a Galentine's Day party. Just, you know, enjoy being together. And that's always was a hard thing with Valentine's Day. You know, I remember even like back to high school, the girls that would get roses, it's like you could send somebody a rose, and nobody ever sent me a rose on Valentine's Day. And it was hard. It was sad. You kind of just like walk around feeling like, but now it seems like a lot of girls are doing, you know, just kind of taking that focus away and putting it on the people who love you in your life, even if it's not, you know, a romantic love. So my daughter got invited to a little Galentine's girls party, which was sweet. So let's see. Yes, I'm using a Posca marker. I need help with the designing, mainly with the banners and shapes. Okay. All right, good. I like all hand lettering too. I like the variety. But yes. I want to work on a training in the hand lettering, excuse me, the hand lettering course on layout, because I know that that's something there's always questions about. Even with the sermon notes that I do on Sundays, you know, those kinds of things, which I do have a video on YouTube about the sermon notes, but it needs to be updated. I did that video a really long time ago. And just how to lay it out. It's really, I get it. It's really hard when you're staring at a blank page, like a blank piece of paper, to figure out, I don't know, where do I even start with this? Where do I even start with this? Marisa, all your girlfriends are married. Listen, I don't know if it makes you feel any better or not, but even though I'm married, my husband are not doing we're not doing anything on Valentine's Day other than just like, I don't know, sitting on the couch. So some years we would do stuff, some years we wouldn't. So listen, your girlfriends may appreciate you calling up and being like, maybe not on Friday, but hey, I want to get together on Saturday, you know. Bring some chocolates. Okay. Not every husband is great at making Valentine's Day special either. No shade there, just, you know. We didn't all marry romantics. Thank you, Roxy. Thank you about the book. It is hard to start, but the book I think is the most comprehensive. It's like all the tips that I know to help you. And then really after that, if you just, you know, like if we do, I have old past lives. I think you saw a lot of them. Where I did it live with you, like, okay, I'm going to put this here and here's why. And so the more that you watch that, or you trace over other layouts or practice, you know, different things, like with these templates, you can trace over it and practice layout. The more you do that, you'll start seeing things like, oh, I could do this, I could do this. So, All right, Grace. I missed this little line of the G here too. So just going to freehand that in. Okay. We're almost done with this part. I'm gonna let it dry. And then I'm gonna show you this book that I have that the author sent me, and I didn't tell her I was going to talk about it today, but I pulled it off the shelf this morning because it's a book about flowers, how to draw flowers, and she's an amazing, like, accomplished artist. She taught art, I believe, and she wrote a book on drawing different kinds of flowers. It's her unique what she's known for. And so I thought maybe I could copy some of her flowers. I'm going to show you her book. But hold on. That's a hair. Okay, so that's what we got so far. You can see it's a little bit wavy right there. It's not super smooth. So I'm going to pull out this. This is a fine. And I hope it's I hope it's the same color black. You know, sometimes blacks they don't match. So we're gonna see here, but this is that Grabby brand of acrylic marker. Close enough. So it's very fine tip. And so I think it would just be a little bit easier to just go along where it looks a little shabby and smooth it out rather than that big fat tip. Only thing I've noticed with these, on the wood or last week on that canvas banner, they kind of like splatter if they hit it. So that's unfortunate. I don't know if that is just me, user error, because you don't want that. I want it to look real clean and sharp. But you can go in here and just clean up your different lines. So this is where I could get real detailed. If I was sitting here by myself and I wasn't on a live, I would probably sit here for 20 minutes and just fix up the spots, you know? But I'm a recovering perfectionist, and you might be too. Look, I just did that. You may be a recovering perfectionist too, where we just have to keep telling ourselves, like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Let me go down here and do this. I have the paints that I used to paint that background, but I kind of, it's going to be hard to match that right here where that smudge is, because I did like a couple colors together with some white and I mixed them to get that gradient, like that variation. So it's going to be hard to cover that up. But here, I'll show you. So I started with this turquoise Mystique color from Folk Art, and that's the bottom part. And so I did the bottom, and then I added in some of this, it's just turquoise, plain turquoise, and kind of mixed it. And then I did a little bit of white, just plain white in with all of it, and then went over to give it more of that gradient look. So if I mix a little bit, let's see. And it's one of those things too where I might be able to add in something else. I always say creativity is often problem solving, right? So yeah, like Marisa said, you could put a flower where the smudge is, something like some sort of flourish or something there, just to problem solve that. And I can see this is where I dragged my hand through it, and then right there. So, but I'm just gonna see if I can get close, because like we were talking about, other people may not be able to notice it. Let's use this brush. So I'm just gonna have a little bit of that turquoise and just pull in a little bit of the white. It doesn't take much white at all, honestly. So I think I need a little bit of that Mystic turquoise too. That's the problem with mixing paints, is that you can't match it later. That doesn't want to come out. Thick. Let's see. You just almost want it to disappear, right? To the eye. I feel like that's pretty close. Pretty close. All right. Oh, you know what I forgot to grab was a jar and a jar of water and some paper towels. So, okay, I'm gonna let this dry for a second, put a pin in it. I'll be right back. I'm gonna run to the kitchen. Okay, what was that? Less than 30 seconds? Okay, so now I can clean off my brush and use that one again. So, what should I try the flowers? It's 10:47. Okay, should I try the flowers? I really should use a pencil to pencil them in first. So, oh, let me show you my friend's book too while this is still kind of drying. Okay, so this is Megan Wells, and she wrote this book called Funky Florals. It's so colorful and bright and fun. So she's a painter, and she does these awesome floral things. She has a course on this too. And she sent me her book, and I haven't had much time to like really go through here and practice anything. But so she'll show you the steps for drawing your flowers and how to build it from step 1, step 2, step 3. And then she gives you a ton of different centers, and then also petals, and then leaves, I believe, too. Okay, what is the DM? Let's see. Do you know what pen? Okay, but Deb, I was using the Posca. And then sometimes that auto responder goes off, and I have to look at the comment and figure out why did that go off. Oh, Marisa, you got this book. That's awesome. All right. I'm not sure what DM that you want me to send you, Susan, but I will look at the comments later when I get off and see what it is. But if it's for the Posca pen, that DM probably didn't send you to that pen. So it must have been another word in the comment that it like grabbed. And I'm trying to change my comment keyword thing to not send with common words. Like if you did SFC, like Scripted Faith Collective, then that would send you the link for that. So it's not like a common word that people would just accidentally write, you know, like at one point it was like comment book if you want to see my faith and lettering book. And then people would say Facebook and it would send it to them. And that was really embarrassing. So, I've tried to change most of my keywords over, but anyway, yeah. So then she's got like combos of how you can put together a center with the petal and the flower, and you can make all your own combinations of all her flowers. So these are pretty detailed. I'm probably not going to get that detailed, but, and then she shows you what, you know, it could look like painted. And she's got chapters in here about painting too. She uses mixed media, which is like, you know, paint, watercolor, colored pencils, markers, like all the different things. So let's just do a few for fun. So, okay, DM is about the Posca pen. I don't actually have a DM set up, but I can send you the link whenever I get off of this. So I'm gonna do like a big flower here in the center, and then a few smaller flowers on each side to sort of wrap around the lettering, wrap around the bottom of the circle. So, hey Nina, welcome. I'm from Florida too. What part of Florida are you in? I am in north of the Tampa Bay area. So about 40 to 50 minutes north of Tampa. But we drive into Tampa, like Hillsborough County, multiple times a week. So, okay. So let's just take this simple one here. I know you probably can't see it. And if I do it, let's see, you want your center to be small enough so that you have room for your petals without hitting the letters. So it's just kind of this wavy shape. Y'all aren't going to be able to see that probably. I will go back over this very shortly in pen. But okay, we've got this kind of wavy shape. And then she does like a little fold with it. My thought was, I know what I'm going to do. I'll do this. I'm going to go back in and paint the background white behind these flowers so that then the color, because I've got some pretty greens, I've got some pinks, some yellow, to paint the flowers some colors. And that's why I'm a little bit afraid that we're not going to be able to finish the flowers today. This is a multi-step process, but the nice thing about flowers is they do not have to be symmetrical, because if you look at a real flower, it's not always perfect. So I am outlining this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here with white and fill in the petals with some white, and then the color, and then I may outline it again so that it's nice and crisp. But, and then, okay, from here, I don't feel like I need to pencil this in. The next step is, let's see, I want you to see this. The next step on that top line is to add in the little filler petals behind the first layer. So it's just a little curvy line here, little curvy line here, like that. And then she takes a thinner, oh, and you know what? One of those has like a little, okay, she did like a little fold. I'll do it on these. And then she took a thinner one. So hopefully this isn't going to splatter. But again, when you're doing paint, you can really cover anything up with paint. So these details are really going to come out later after I paint it. But then she does her centers like this. like that. She's got a whole lot more on hers than I've done there, but, and she didn't do any like little center. She didn't do a centered detail on this particular one, but like I told you, she has like a whole page of the centers of what you could do with your flowers. That's going to be more of the detail that comes after we do the painting part. All right. So, let me go ahead and freehand in the rest of the flowers so y'all can see at least what that looks like finished. And then I may do a reel of the rest of it, or maybe I can hop on a live later to finish up the painting part of it. So, okay, let's go back to these. Because I don't have a lot of room here under the G, this one needs to be smaller. So again, I'm going to start with the center. Let's look at our centers. So we've got like a little star, some little hairy thingies, these little starfish looking things, lots of different. I like to do a spiral. I like to do a spiral a lot. So I'll do a little spiral here. And then we've got lots of different shapes we can do for petals. She always looks like she does an uneven 1, 2. Well, that's got 6, 5, and 3. So I guess it doesn't matter how many you start off with, but let's do four is what fits with this one. And then I'm just gonna fill in. And the cool thing about Megan's book too is she calls it funky florals. So we're not going for realistic. We're not going for a realistic look at all. So yes, it's called Funky Florals by Megan Wells. And she sent me her book a few months ago. It came out last year, towards the end of the year. And this is my first chance to really have any time to go in and play around with it. But she's an awesome artist. If you're on Instagram, she is Make, M-A-K-E, Wells, W-E-L-L-S. And you could go follow her and say hello. So let me outline this part so you can see what that looks like. Yeah, see, I'm not digging this marker. It's like doing this little splatter thing, which is cool if that's the look you're going for, but it's not the look that I'm going for today. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. See if you can see this up close. Do you see right there on that petal how that's splattered? I don't like that. Ugh, and I love that it's so thin, but that is not cool. Just keep telling myself I'm gonna paint over it. I'm gonna paint over it. This is just my guide. So I started off with these 4 larger petals. And then I filled in with petals that go kind of behind it. And if you weren't here earlier, I mentioned that this sign I'm making for a really special person, and it's my grandmother. So she is going to a living, I can never say that term, assisted living facility. And that's been a really big change. She was living in her home by herself after my grandfather died a few years ago. And God bless her, she fell and hurt herself in December. And it's been a really hard recovery process. She'll be 90 this year. So my family moved her in. And I wanted to make something special for her to go into her new place. So I am making this sign to go on her front door or inside, wherever they decide they want to put it, and hope that it'll just make her smile. So that was the special person that this was for. I'm going to do the same flower that I did here, but I'm going to do it on this side. And man, this thing's, I'm feeling the tension of, man, I wanted that to really work, but it's not great. Okay, so we're gonna do our little center spiral. Once I do one, I feel pretty good about doing other ones, but that's when I mess up. Because it's like, oh, you thought you knew what you were doing, but you don't. The good thing is, like I said before, if you're doing paint, paint can cover up anything. You just got to paint over it if you don't like it, you know? So, that's always the saving grace of like creativity. When you can't paint over it, then you're stuck, and that's no good. Now, the gaps between the flowers, I'm gonna fill in with maybe some vines or some leaves. So I'm gonna do that. That would be a later step. And then up here, you either do a smaller flower on both sides. Let me show you. You can either do a smaller flower on both sides or some big leaves. I kind of think a smaller flower, and then I'll do some leaves coming out from that. So, okay, let's do a different center this time. So I'm gonna look back at this, and I kind of like this star. You can't see it. This little star here. So this would be like step 1, step 2, step 3. I've also seen her do a star and then put a little cloud bubble thing around it. So pencil first, pencil first. So like a little star. And then, let's see, I've got all these petal shapes to trying to keep it smaller and a little bit funky and fun. And see, I like how that turned out. But really, it's adding in those detailed lines later that just really brings it to life. So I'm excited to get to that part. All right, so I just did this little star shape. Like that. And I can just even tell from here that the top part of this flower is bigger and the bottom part is smaller. So I'm gonna try to even that out and make them a little bit more balanced. But I'm not tracing over the pencil exactly. That was kind of my guide. And thankfully, our paint will cover it up later. So it looks a little messy right now. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And if you've got a lot of space in between your flowers, that's okay. You've just got more room for vines and leaves. I am hating this marker. I need to just stop using it. But my other Posca one is so thick. It's too thick. But I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a second. And I'm not going to use this on a wood sign anymore. I don't even know what I would use it on, to be honest. If your flower looks kind of unbalanced, you can always add in more petals to make it look more balanced. And we're going to add more detail to this later, but I'm like not loving this right now. Do you see all those splatters? Ugh, so annoying. It's a grabby. It's, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, grabby. I would say Grabie, G-R-A-B-I-E. And this is what they look like. Extra fine tip acrylic markers, premium. Lots of fun colors, lots of cool stuff. I was so excited about these. But not really conducive to wood. So, all right. Well, we are not done. Not done. I feel like I need to come back and finish this later. But what I'm planning on doing, and I'll just go ahead and start it, is I'm going to paint the flowers. I'm going to do a white background. And then when that white is dry, I'm going to give it the color. So I'm going to do the, you know, gradients of the pinks and the yellows and all that. And that's like a really fun part. I need a paintbrush. Let's see. This one's good. So I feel like we should do it together. You know what I mean? We should come in and do this together. I'm not worried even about covering up some of that black because I'm going to re-outline it later. But the black is there as my guide. And honestly, if I wasn't doing this on a live, I may not have done the black because kind of like, what's the point? I did it so that y'all could see because you can't see the pencil. But I will say with just pencil, you would cover up all your pencil lines and lose a little bit of your shape definition. So maybe it's good that the black is there. And I'm not worried about covering it up all up completely because obviously when the color goes on, it's going to cover it up some too. And I do want it to have more of a, not rustic look, but you know, I don't want it to look perfect. I want it to have variation in there and texture, that look of texture. So anyway, so this is what I'm going to do with all these flowers. I'm going to get them prepped. I may add some leaves, and then I think we'll come back and do another live. Maybe I can do tomorrow because I want to get this finished. I don't want to wait a week. So I may just put my kids on something. What's tomorrow? The 13th? What's Thursday? What's happening? I just have something in the morning. So maybe tomorrow afternoon, I will come back. And would y'all want me to come back and do this on a live? Even if you can't be here live, you know, you could always watch the replay. Hey, Glinda, how are you? She said, if you don't endorse them, I don't need them. I know. I wish I could endorse them. I just need to find the right material to use them on. So, all right. Well, I'll get this prepped today. Now that you've seen what I'm doing, how I'm doing the white, and you can see that's kind of messy. Okay, see how I covered it up? But that's going to be my background. That way the color of the paints for the flowers will pop off more because they're just going to die a little bit on top of this turquoise. They wouldn't have the same pop. So, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to leave it here for now. and then we'll just do all of our, I'll try to keep myself from doing more detail without you, because, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, let me do this really fast. And then like, oh, so I'll try to keep myself to just do these flowers, and then I'm going to add some leaves, and then that way we can just do all the colored painting together tomorrow. So, I will try to figure out my timing a little bit more, but I think it's going to be after lunch, like probably around 3 o'clock or so, Eastern time. So anyway, I'm excited. We get to go for round 2, but here's where we ended today. And I will tell you, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fix that Z. It's a little bit thin compared to all the other ones. I'm going to add in a little bit right there. But from there, we will do the rest together. So I appreciate y'all being here with me and for chatting. This was fun. And I will see you all tomorrow. All right. Have a great day.